Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining in, hugs and kisses to you, and if you're returning, hugs and kisses to you too. My name is Ursula, what would you, like some of my friends call me, and I am so glad that you were able to make it stop by the channel today and just chill with me on my green couch and couch conversations today. And we're talking about something that I don't think that I've actually talked about before, honestly, but I'm happy to get into it today just because I know a couple of people who are in that fix, asking themselves which path to take, and even my brother who's also moving in a couple of months as well. And so we're chatting and we're talking about moving as a student versus moving as a PR and then going to school. Now, I honestly wish that I had applied as a PR and then come to school as a PR. Apart from the fact that I would have paid less in my fees, it would have just put less pressure on me, and I would have been closer to getting my citizenship by now, because I've been in this country almost 5 years. I should be Canadian by now. But anyway, today we're going to go into the meat of, what are the peculiarities of moving as a student and then going to school and then applying for PR versus coming in and going to school as a permanent resident. Now, when I started applying, like I said in previous videos, I took my time with doing all the research and then doing the application. I took like close to 2 years in putting all my papers together, gathering my funds, understanding if I even wanted to do an MBA. Like, it took time to plan. And even though people were telling me, not a lot of people, like 2 people I think, told me, oh, okay, now that you want to move to Canada, maybe apply as a PR first and then apply student visa and then go to school as a PR. But the thing at that time was, when I decided to apply and I decided I wanted to go to school, I did not want to miss my window. I knew the school was starting in September. I wanted a lot more control, which is something a lot of people can relate to because they're in that shoe as well. Like, if you want to go back to school and school is resuming in September, most people don't want to wait and apply for PR, which could take between 6 months to 2 years, and then what happens, you end up deferring your admission if you don't get PR on time. So that is what I was thinking about at that time, and I was like, I want more control. I want to be able to control when I move. I don't want to miss the time when I'm supposed to start school. And at that time it was easier to get your student visa, like literally under a few weeks or a couple of months, like 4 months max at that time, you got it. Versus if I was applying for a PR, that was like up to a year of waiting, and you don't even know. Some people were getting it less time, I agree, but some people were getting it in way longer time, and I did not want anything keeping me back beyond August, because I had booked my flights. I wanted to leave in August and I wanted to resume in September. Now, do I wish I had taken that 2 years that I used in pre-planning to say apply for PR, put in the application, and still apply for a student visa? Yes, I do. But that's water under the bridge now. Can't do anything about it. But if you're in that space, you might want to consider it, especially if you're not too tied to, oh, I must leave at a certain time or I must resume school at a certain time. If your school gives you the flexibility to defer, if it happens that you don't get your PR before your school resumes, that's something that you might want to consider, right? If you're not so tied to having that control over when you leave and when you start school, then you should definitely consider getting that PR first, just because your time when you move here, your time as a student starts counting towards applying for citizenship. Once you're PR, 3 years after, you can apply for citizenship. In that 3 years, you're spending a year or 2 years going to school, but it's all counting towards you getting that PR. Now, I must say that when you come as a student and when you eventually apply for PR, the time that you spend being in school can amount to at most 1 year towards the time it counts to get your citizenship. Now let me be more specific. I went for a program that was 2 years, and by the time I was applying for my PR, I had finished school. I waited till I finished school to apply for PR. Bad move. I should have done it by the time I started, but that's story for another day. Actually, I'll get to it in a bit. But you only, like, I had the my program was 2 years, but it wasn't like after 2 years and I would only wait 1 year before I can apply for citizenship. No, by the time you're doing PR, even if your program was 5 years, it's only going to amount to at most 1 year, and that counts towards your citizenship. So bear that in mind. Now, the reason that I didn't apply for PR immediately I got in here was because it's you know that thing about getting your finances in order, getting that bulk of money to show that proof of funds when you're doing all that application. I was you guys don't even want to know how I survived 2 years of school. I just really wanted to concentrate and fight one battle at a time. I didn't want to be thinking about, oh, okay, how am I going to gather the proof of funds and then get all my wares, get all of that pieces, write the IELTS or CELPIP, which is another option or alternative to the IELTS. I didn't want to do all of that in the first year of a very hectic MBA program. So I was like, you know what, let me just wait. Now, in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that, because by the time I was ready, we went into a pandemic and my application was locked in for 2 years. I couldn't get my PR for 2 solid years.
Sorrows.
Tears.
Prayers.
But anyway, again, they say you only know better like from hindsight, but at that time I thought I was making the right decision. But you know what, everything works together for my good. That's always what I believe in. But I think the core of what I'm trying to pass across here is, if you have the option to apply for PR and then apply to school and then come to school as a PR in Canada, please take that option. However, if you want to really manage when you leave and have control over when you leave and when you start school, then you can go the student visa route, because you know, just data and experience has shown that you get that student visa a lot faster than getting that PR. My brother is moving in September, and his wife is going to school, and what I wanted him to do was come as PR, but then understanding that they wanted control of the time, they wanted to leave at a certain time, I was like, okay, fine, you know, it makes sense, because I'm really, and their objective, especially his wife, was she wanted to go back to school. I always say this, I'm not a proponent of use school as a route to move to Canada. I used to think that that was cool, but really not anymore, just because there are other ways to get into the country. There is provincial nomination, express entry, all of those pieces, right, that you don't necessarily need to go back to school and spend $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 just because you want to land here. That's money that you could invest in, use and make some really solid investments here, set yourself up for success, settle in, instead of giving it to school when you really don't want to go to school, right? So that is really my stand and my position. So when he said that his wife's goal really is to go back to school, then I was like, you know what, yeah, do the student visa, right? Just do it and then come, and then once you land, then start putting things together for your PR. Which leads me to my other point. Now, when you move as a student, because all of the pieces that you've considered, that's the best route for you, then start making plans to apply for your PR as soon as possible. So what do I mean? Get your WES in order, get your proof of funds in order, get all of those pieces. Write your exam as early as you can, right? There's especially here, I don't know if CELPIP, I think CELPIP is also offered in the US, but I'm not, if I'm wrong, I'll correct it on the screen. But I don't think CELPIP is available to folks in Nigeria. I think it's just IELTS. If it is available, you might consider doing like a CELPIP. If not, do the IELTS. It's also it's not that hard. I know people say it's hard. I honestly think you can get a great score in your first try, but even if you can't, you can always try again, right? Or you can contest your score. don't listen to what people say and say it's so hard, because then you then think it's hard, and then you're not positioned for success. Just believe you do well and you do well. Of course, prepare. So that's the piece. Once you do move as a student, start getting things in order, get your finances, start building that proof of funds, get all the necessary documentation that you need. So if you have to do the WES, again, depending on the school that you apply to, it could give you a head start in terms of the points that it adds to your eventual points when you're trying to get into the pool. So that could also be a plus for you, right? And then if you do think that, you know, it's best to come in as a PR and transition into going to school, like it's best to apply, get your PR, and then go to school, then start early. Honestly, start early. When you do your application to schools, look for schools where they have that flexibility to defer admissions. Some schools are not that flexible, right? If you miss coming in September, like that's the end. You have to do a fresh new application the next year. But that's something you want to consider. Pick schools or programs that give you the option to defer to the next cycle or the next academic year. Okay. And you also, secondly, you have to then be willing to be flexible. It ties to the first point. You have to be willing to be flexible, because with PR application, it could take, in my case, it took 2 years, but then again, mine and the people in my cohort, it was more like an outlier because of the pandemic. Now that we're, fingers crossed, amen, we're out of the pandemic, things are slowly beginning to go back to the usual rhythm of things prior to the pandemic. But you never know. If the pandemic has taught us anything, is anything can happen, right? So I would say start early and be flexible, right? If you put in your PR application and you're giving it like a year, like in a year I should have my PR, and then in a year I'll be able to go to, move to Canada and then start school. Be flexible, because it might take less but it might take more. So be flexible with your time. Unlike me, I wasn't willing to be flexible. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to get out in August, and that was it. If I didn't leave in August, I wasn't going to leave. So it was really important. I remember when I was leaving, my flight was really messed up. I booked a flight that I had to go through the US, and at that time I didn't have a US visa, so they just wouldn't let me fly. I almost wanted to die. I was like, I'm supposed to leave this country on this day, but eventually I was able to get another ticket that left a couple of hours after, and then I left. But my point is, I wasn't willing to be flexible with my departure date. I wanted to get out, I wanted to resume school, and then I wanted to study. If your goal, which I honestly would advise to do that PR route and then come to school, if you're able to do that, then be willing to be flexible, okay? And then start early. And start early. The time that it takes you to plan, start putting in your PR applications early, because honestly, the earlier you start, the better. It just takes a lot of pressure out of you. And then there's also that point where there are some courses or some programs where domestic students, like people who are residents, pay lesser fees than people who are international, like really coming out. So when you come as a PR, you're considered domestic. So you never know, based on the school you're applying to, your program, you could get a couple $1,000 off your fees, versus if you were fully brand new Tierra international student, right? So those are things that you should consider. I would strongly advise going that PR route if you're willing to be flexible. But if not, like my brother did, that's also okay. Come as a student, and then once you land, start making plans to apply for PR, right? So we can all get a blue passport as soon as possible, and we can hold our passports in the air. For me, it's still going to be like another 2 years, so just because of the time it took me, but that's okay. That's okay. Again, everything happens for a reason. All right, I hope this video was helpful and you have learned 1 or 2 things just from my experience. And if you have questions or something wasn't as clear, please put it in the comment section and I'm happy to get to it. If I have to do a whole other video just to answer some of your questions, I love it. It's that Nadi work we would do. That's my job. I would definitely do another video for you. You just need to say the word. You wish, my command. And so if you've watched all the way to here, you are the star. But subscribe, share this video, tell people to watch it, okay? Like as well, just so that it helps us grow the channel faster. Thank you so much for watching. Again, subscribe. Follow us on our channel, Ursula Sebastine, if you want to see the tea and baby girl life, and also couch conversations, just to have, you know, more bite-sized, easy to digest content around postgraduate studies, life in Canada, and immigration and lifestyle, and all that pieces. Okay, I'm so happy that you were able to stay to the end of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I'm not sure when this video is going out, but it's Beyonce weekend. We're going out to dance and just to see what Queen Bee is up to. Anyway, that's just a sidebar. But have a good time, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.